Aloha, Flow Riders! Welcome to the Flow. I am your co-host, Doc Rock, along with my awesome co-host.
Hey everyone, it's Katie.
102 episodes later. It's still funny to me.
Slight regrets that was my intro, but that's okay.
No,
it's okay.
What are we talking about today?
All right. Well, I thought in this episode we would break down the quote unquote controversial podcasting questions and topics. So we are busting myths and we're talking controversies and we're hopefully answering a bunch of your questions along the way. We have probably, just full disclosure, we have probably way too much content for this episode. So what we're going to do is we're going to take it as high level as we can with this episode, and then we will likely dive deeper into these topics so that they can each have their own episode in the future. But work with us here because we're going to go quickly through a whole bunch of information that hopefully is really helpful for everyone.
Yeah. Well, all right. I think we should jump to the first straight controversy. That's the word I was looking for. Let's go to the first controversy.
Let's talk about controversies.
Yes.
All right. Well, the first one on our list is podcast SEO. All right. So all about podcast SEO. And the question of the controversy is, how relevant is it? Does it actually make a big difference in discovery? Do people really care? Like how much time should we all be focusing on this?
Okay, this is a very good question. The first thing to know about SEO is it has always been a cat and mouse game, right? And this is because I am a factual speaking person. So if anybody's feelings get hurt, it's your problem. Let them. We've always tried to find a way to game the system. Now, we have all kind of weird word for us. We like to make ourselves feel better with optimizing. I mean, that's what the O is for, actually. We have all kind of excuses, but what you're really trying to do is do things in your content that would make it easily found via search engine that you didn't own, somebody else owned. And the search engine's job is to deliver things to people that they're looking for. Now, it is easy to say that if I am in the market for these, and I'm not going to call what they are for the simple reason that that's part of my talk later, so hold that thought. But if I'm in the market for these, I'm going to type that into the search engine and I'm going to get results. Now, for reality is, for all intents and purposes, the very first thing that should show up is Raymond. Raymond Bandon should be the first person to show up. But it's not. Some other thing shows up. And if Katie and Jill had an emporium in Massachusetts somewhere because they're closer to you, and because they're an authorized dealer, they were the Ray-Ban Emporium of the seaside or whatever, seacoast. I forgot what you guys called the word.
Seacoast, come on.
Seacoast. Okay, I'm right. We're seaside. You guys are seacoast. It's the same thing. See, there you go. This is what I'm saying, right? East Coast is Seacoast. Where I live is Seaside, right? It ain't even a damn sea. It's the ocean, fam. Ain't no sea in Honolulu. It's the ocean, but we still call it Seaside. Anyway, because of optimization, I could make that come up first, right? So in a way, you already were trying to inject yourself in the position over top of the actual brand that people just needed to go to the brand first to figure out what they wanted. And then they would go, where can I get this locally? But that's not how it works because of optimization, right? So we've been cheating from day one. And now that things are changing, people are mad or frustrated or upset or telling everybody whatever. And so, yeah, it kind of matters because it helps get you in the front of the viewers. But it's like you're that person at the speed dating, jumping up and down, go, everybody pick me. Somebody pick me. Please pick me. It's a little desperate. So the owners of the search engine have been working on getting the best possible information to the person, not the person who's the most skillful at jumping up and down and screaming like a maniac. And so that cat and mouse game has been going since day one. I used to be friends with a dude named Matt Cutts, and his job was to block all the SEO tricks. Putting all the words in the bottom of your web page in clear, no. As soon as they figure that out, cancel that. So anyway, the modern SEO is GEO, is generative engine optimization. So they're reading your content. They're getting the most relevant information from your content, and they're using that to weigh. And so all of the people who have SEO tricks is pretty much going out the window anyway. I personally would do the baseline best practices, but I wouldn't spend a lot of time tweaking or chasing keyword optimization or whatever. Because truth of the matter is, that's not how the algo works no more. The algo is dope now. It can find, if you good, it will find you. If you not good, you finally going to get sold out. Thank goodness.
Yeah, the things to really keep in mind are filling out the information as clearly and as detailed as is relevant to the content you're creating. Stop making anything that's cutesy. So name things as they are. I'm talking to myself as much as to all of you. So your episode titles, your descriptions, those matter. The name of your show, what it is, that matters. Having really good show notes and transcripts. So having that copy in the right places. So just filling out those fields. But as Doc said, you don't need to overthink all of the games and the tricks and the things to try to rank higher. You just need to be clear and honest about what your content is about and fill that information out as detailed as is relevant. So like, don't go overboard and fill out every single detail about every single thing. That's overkill, but have enough information that if someone was to use a voice search tool, right? Like a name or an S name tool, if they were to use one of those kinds of tools out there, right? To look for your show or to look for the content, would the content and the copy that you have around your video and around your podcast episode, would that help them to find it, right? Would that help them to be able to pick up that episode? So just be thinking about it. Just keep it top of mind and just be detailed with what information you're putting in. It's a best practice anyway. And there's so many amazing AI tools out there right now that make this process seconds. It takes seconds. Like you're like, this is what my episode is about. Please write me detailed show notes. This is what my episode is going to be about. Please, give me a great title suggestion. There's 8 million plus tools out there right now that will do this really easily. So keep it in mind so that this controversy. How are you pronouncing it, Doc? You had a fun pronunciation.
Controversy.
All right. This controversy
about
podcast SEO is that it's an ever-changing thing. And the important thing to do is to just make sure that you're being like open and honest, not trying to game the system because the system is always changing, and just filling out the fields. Fill out the fields with the proper info. That's all you have to do.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing at Paul because Paul said YouTube has gone crazy. Another Paul. We have one more Paul to add to our 6-pack of Pauls now.
Oh, so many Pauls.
He says YouTube has gone crazy. It's been 15 years and I still haven't figured out. So my question to Paul is like, Paul, are you married? It's the same thing. Like I got 25 years in. I have no idea what she's talking about. So don't sweat it, Paul. It still can be good, even though I have no clue what she's talking about half the time. I just nod.
It's all the cool thing too about it is like to keep in mind it's updatable. So we've been talking a lot over the last little bit about like thumbnails and graphics and like all of this, and it's all updatable. If you go back to like an older episode and you realize that like the title wasn't as obvious as it could have been, or you were missing some like relevant links that you wanted to include in your show notes or whatever, like go back in and update it.
Yes.
There's no like, these things are always changing, and an old episode can be pulled into YouTube or into Google or into these different places as easily as a new episode. So feel free to go back through and take a look and read it and ask yourself, like, does this actually tell people what this episode is about? Does this title actually make someone want to click through and watch or listen to this episode? So it's worth giving thought to, but not really overthinking it.
You mentioned something really clear just now. It is always updating. A week ago, if you asked me this question, I would have been like, hell yeah, SEO is super important. I've been saying it for like the last year and a half. I've been fighting it. But there was an algo update in like 3 or 4 of the different platforms recently. And it's not that it's not important. It's just that its impact has changed a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, here you go, I just said it, AI. So here's what AI can do now. all your lying doesn't work because AI can actually see the video, it can hear the video. And it's one thing that we've always had transcripts, so it can always hear the video. It's been hearing the video since probably like 2012, but it can see the video now. We have visual AI. If I were to slap on these bad boys and say, hey, what's her name? Mary, what do you see? She's going to be like, I see a LG 32-inch monitor. I see a Elgato teleprompter. I see a Shure SM7. Like, she knows exactly what she's looking at. And so now these guys have invested over the last couple of years. This is where GEO is coming from. They are looking at the picture. So if Tommy is a person who sells athletic surfaces for colleges, but in his video, he's playing piano or bongos with a beatnik outfit. Hey, you need a new basketball floor, daddy-o. You confuse the hell out of the video. So the search won't find him because you're trying to be too cute. So this thing got me tripping so much that because I'm constantly talking about YouTube, I'm even thinking about pulling down my spectrum analyzer because I don't want my spectrum analyzer or my Star Wars things back there, which are part of my personality. I don't want them to confuse the video. So I have to find a way to rearrange it or make sure that what I'm saying in my video sort of matches that so that it can link up. So luckily I do talk about studio gear a lot. So I just might change my background to more studio gear. Yep. But yeah, like it can see the video now. So those people that come on and play an instrument while they talk about something else, they're actually confusing their search results because they're thinking that you're teaching lessons. Yeah. Unless you're very good at your hook point in conversation. So it's changing. And you're right about that.
I think the new game to this system is that if you're just, again, like, if you're just as clear as you possibly can be visually in what you say and in the copy that surrounds your content, you're always going to win because the goal of the algorithm is to get your content into the hands of the right people so that they consume it and then they consume more content, right? That's the goal of any algorithm. So if you are checking those boxes, so you need to serve the people so that the algorithm can serve your content to the right people. So continue to do that and you will be fine.
Cases
all right, let's swing to two. All right. What's controversy number 2, Doc?
Why video podcasters should stop worrying about Apple podcast rankings.
Yeah, rankings, right? People ask about rankings all the time. They're like, what are your download numbers? Am I ranking well? How do top podcasts rank? All of the ranking and all this stuff. It was really fascinating to read because this has also been a space where things are changing really, really quickly. But, and Doc is going to love sharing all this information from this column. But so Apple Podcasts used to be the absolute place to be for discoverability, right? Like that was the place 100%. That you wanted to be. That was the podcasting spot. It's not anymore. It's becoming less and less and less relevant. Not to say you shouldn't be there. You should still be in all the places where podcast getting is got, as Doc would say. But discovery and rankings and like how your podcast gets out there, as we just talked about, is quickly changing, right? So YouTube 100%. Is number one now. Like your social media and how we are sharing content clips and pieces of content is out there, and podcast rankings are like at this point really just a vanity metric. Like they're not doing anything for you. It doesn't actually equal growth at all, right?
So part of that has to do with, and this is why I feel like so many of the audio people are having a panic mode right now, is they are, a lot of people, not just audio people, but the same thing with YouTube in general. A lot of people are banking on their advertisements as their money game. And the problem is what that does, and these are the big guys, and they're always talking about it and they're always complaining about it. Like, first of all, you get paid to have a conversation with your friend. Let's be real. All right? Let's get gracious, gratitudinous, whatever. Get one of those. Feel good about what you're doing.
Feel good about what you're doing. Yeah.
Feel blessed, right? And then what happens is download metrics used to be how you would tell an advertiser like Ecamm, for instance, how many downloads you get so that we can sponsor your show. Okay? Yeah. We have several shows that we sponsored, and they send us metrics. They send us things like that. But you know what? We don't care about the download numbers. You know what really matters to us is when then they get into Caleb's thing, and Caleb sends them a couple emails, and then you know what? I'm going to get Ecamm Pro. We can see what exact signups came from Twit or Relay FM or, uncensored, shows that we sponsor.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only one that really matters to us. But to them, they're still at every conference talking about download numbers. And here's why download numbers are false. I am Doc Rock. I am a freaking nerd. Anyone want to take a guess as to how many Apple devices I have? I just want you to guess right now. And I'm going to tell you something that's going to mess your head up. I have 2 unopened boxes on the table right now. So
22.
Close. Yeah. It's about
Thank
correct.
you.
That. Dang, that's just legit. Not counting those 2 because technically those are Ken and Glenn's.
Okay,
but
20.
Still, 20. It's 20. It's about 22. So in that of the phones, in the iPads and the computers, they all have Apple Podcasts on it, and they are syncable. So they are. If you put up an episode of Kenny and Kathy, I can't speak their names, them pod kids. If I put up their Pop Culture Kids podcast, they get 20 something downloads from me. You understand?
You're welcome.
I might listen to it once.
Yeah.
But they get credit for 20 something downloads because I am synchronized. On some of those devices, I have Apple Podcasts, I have YouTube Podcasts, I have Castro and Overcast. Because Castro works good in the car with CarPlay. Overcast works better in the truck with CarPlay. Apple Podcasts works on all of the Apple TVs. So the numbers will always BS. It's because I come from media, bro. I come from newspaper. Newspaper would tell us every day, we have a circulation of 100,000. I'm like, bro, there's not a circulation of 100,000 in the Honolulu area, bro. It just doesn't match. But what they were counting on is when I went to the ortho yesterday, the Star Bulletin is upside down on the table. So that back page ad for Lex Brody's tire company was seen by me. They're counting that. It's like, no, that doesn't count. It doesn't count. So yeah, download numbers are dumb. It really does not matter. And going back to your point about sort of the SEO and discovery and situational things. Now, you yourself, and I'm curious have you ever found the podcast by searching, or are most of your podcast recommendations recommended by a friend or a family, or you hear an ad, or you listen to a guest on another show and you go, dang, I really, really like Tommy. Let me go listen to his show.
Yeah, it's so I definitely check the box on probably all of those. So the podcasts that I listen to are either ones that were recommended from a friend or from another podcast. Either they said it, or the new podcast I'm listening to were guests on a podcast I already love. And then I might search for the name of the podcast, like, because I now am looking for it. I definitely I scroll through a ton of TikTok and Instagram reels. So if there's like podcast clips that catch my attention, I definitely have found a couple of podcasts from seeing clips that I thought were funny or shareable. And I was like, oh, this is actually a podcast. I'm going to go back and find out more about the podcast. I these days listen when I'm listening to podcasts. I listen actually most in Amazon Music because they in many cases have ad-free podcasts, or I'm listening in YouTube Music because, again, it's ad-free. So there's like my listening and viewing of podcasts also changes, as I'm sure many people do. Like there's different reasons why, right? And I'm following those creators across a number of different places. So yeah,
but in the grand scheme of things, and I think this is for most people in the BMAT, right? That's a behavior model. The trigger in the T is normally not, let me sit down at Google and search for podcasts. It doesn't work, bro. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. So people are busting their gut over the wrong way. That's not how people are getting in. Sorry, I won't go into BMAT. It's a longer conversation, but you can Google BJ Falk. That's all you got to do. It's a situation where I think so many people, and when it comes to business in general, are often harping at the wrong thing. Like they're trying to figure, like, this sounds like a great thing we should market right now. And it's like, yes, but if our marketing goal, we do this. If our marketing goal is to attract new bodies, it's a different conversation. It's not the same conversation as let's bless up the bodies we already have, which we do. right? So we have to do both. And that's the struggle of any good business is customer retention, loyalty, avocation, so forth, et cetera, and also attracting new people. Because you can make your old people happy as long as you want. And I don't mean Paul, I mean like regular old people, like people who are already subscribed. But you also have to attract new subscribers. If you don't, you're going to be short-lived. And like Japan as a whole country is having this problem because they are having a massive population drain right now. Because they spent so long telling people what the marriage is, the merits of this particular type of marriage that's not sustainable, and now they don't have enough people to keep the country going. Their economy is suffering because people ain't having childrens. How crazy is that?
It's
so
crazy.
You got to be careful of. We're gonna listen. We're gonna be in the same boat pretty soon because of the craziness that we're talking right now. We're gonna be unable to keep up with our income generation because we're trying to scare people out of the country. That's not how you save money. That just doesn't work. It's been proven 1,000 times throughout history. But, go figure. Let's switch before I start tripping.
Before we digress political, here's what all of us should be focusing on. And there was a great question I'm going to answer at the same time from Paul, who's asking, if not Apple, then what? Is Spotify the next thing? So if not Apple,
Spotify, no.
YouTube is the next thing, right? So if not Apple, YouTube, and thinking again through how people are finding and engaging with podcasts, right? So what you need to be paying attention to is your YouTube growth, right? Do you have your podcast out on YouTube? Is it discoverable there? Are you following all the YouTube best practices? Are you naming your show correctly? Do you have your show notes, formatted correctly? Are you have engaging thumbnails to attract attention over on YouTube? YouTube is the place, right? Are you repurposing your content and sharing it across social media, right? I just said that I admitted to I scroll, and I'm sure many of you scroll across all these different platforms. Like, is your podcast, is your show and your content discoverable on these social platforms? If not, why not? And then the next thing to be focused on is what we just talked about, right? Like keeping all of your SEO and your content as honest and accurate and up to date as possible, and going back and tweaking any of those older things. Don't overthink it. Don't try to game the system, but have relevant, helpful content and information. And then engaging with your audience, right? So like doing what we're doing right now, all the loyalty stuff that Doc just mentioned is all super, super relevant and continues to be more relevant as this landscape changes. What numbers are going to continue to matter to people are, okay, how many people actually show up week after week to your show and ask questions and engage with your content and take your recommendations and buy based on what you are saying. So all of this is hugely, hugely important to keep in mind, and really where you should be focusing and spending your time rather than on your download numbers and all of those vanity metrics that aren't really relevant, have never really been all that relevant, and are going to be way less relevant as things continue to change going forward.
Well, their relevancy came from people figured out they could make money telling people how to rank higher.
Yep.
And it's not saying that was a bad business, because trust me, like I've done it for clients. So no, it's not a thing. I just want to show you something Katie said about engagement. Look, it's just so habitual for me that I don't even recognize I do it, but I know I do it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm listening to Katie. I'm looking at the outline. I'm checking the comments. I am.
Yep.
Hi, Paul Turner. Paul Turner pops up. Darren Hood pops up. Right. Tommy's my buddy. Tommy pops up. K-Walk's my buddy. K-Walk pops up. Saeed got jokes. Saeed is at every show. Right. You know what I do? Even though this is the recorded show, we normally used to save that kind of stuff for later. Paul's question was good. So I'm going to interact with Paul right away. Paul's brand new. But I'm going to say, hey, what's up, Paul? Let me answer your thing. I see Darren pops in. We want to say what's up to Darren, right? But in a manner that I can work it into the show. So nothing wrong with what you did, Darren. Let's not get into it. Thank you for saying hello. But if you actually came back with a question, you're more likely to get recognized, especially if your question is good. Paul has had 2-3 good questions. I see Bill's popping in. That level of engagement is where the people are like, you know what? I go to tons of podcasts and tons of podcast tapings, and I put questions, and those people never answer me because they're so stuck in their show line. We have a show line. Yo, I'm really bad at these things. But what I'm really good at is recognizing people, because I know what it feels like not to be recognized. When I was a nerd and I was trying to learn stuff, those guys at the computer store were J-holes. But I figured it out on myself. I got smarter than all of them, then I would go in them and tell them what's up. But, back in the day, computer guys were very, very like gatekeepy. And I mean, way back in the day. I started in computers in like the early 80s. So I go out of my way to make sure I address people. That's the way my mama raised me. I'm not going to walk past you and not, give the greetings. Like my grandma would slap the back of my head. So that's just something that you do. So to finish out Paul's question, but I just wanted to say that level of engagement is what works. Now, don't sidetrack your whole show just saying what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up. But if there's a valid point, like Paul has had great questions, then you go ahead and answer them if you can, or tell them. We will get to that in the Q&A. Don't leave them hanging, so that way they'll stay around. Okay, so anyway, to Paul's point, the YouTube thing is so important, and so many people are going to miss it because the old school people are still saying Apple, Spotify, Apple, Spotify, Apple, Spotify, because they know that from the past, and people hate change. Doesn't matter if you hate change, it's inevitable. Okay, summertime is way hotter than it ever was when we was kids. No matter what anybody say, your body can feel the difference. Okay, so YouTube has just put out stats that says over a billion hours of YouTube podcasts is watched on televisions, not on your phones, not on the YouTube Music app, on televisions. Every TV sold in the United States in the last 10, 11, 12 years has a YouTube button on the remote. If you are ignoring YouTube podcasts, you are ignoring myriad growth opportunities. Now, one other thing that YouTube podcast does that the other players do not is at this moment in time, for about 75% of the content, YouTube podcast has an automatic switch. そして、このポッドキャスト見たらもう日本だけども、Go はどこと聞いては、あとは日本語だけ. So the YouTube is automatically translating all of what you're saying into the people's native language. So you could watch Katie and I in Portuguese. Sorry, Jill, I can't do that. I know you're up there. But Jill could do it. Jill could do the whole podcast in Portuguese. I could do it in Japanese and Korean. You're missing this opportunity because you're like, oh, Apple, Spotify. Sorry. They're getting their butt kicked. And they don't know it yet because everybody is still stuck on RSS feeds, and everybody's still stuck on RSS feeds because they think that's going to get them better advertisement. And yeah, it's not the thing. So, Bill, let me get to your question real fast. There's no should. You do whatever the hell you want. We do both. We do the edited show that comes out a week from now. So this show, properly Luised, will be 1 week from now. But we also have the live because we like to be able to do what I just did for you. You have a question. You don't have a week. You want to know right now. You got stuff you need to do. So I want to answer you as soon as possible. And that's where, the live taping to me, I think is the best. And one advantage to leaving both is you're giving that SEO juice, that Google juice. Everything that I just said, everything Katie says is fed into these guys are helpful. These guys are on subject, and they are providing relevant new information or updated information or current information about these topics. So when you go to search for them, you're more likely to find us. There you go.
Absolutely. And Bill, if it is helpful, so if someone is listening later, Bill was asking about how to structure everything on YouTube. Should it be live? Should it be recorded? Kind of all the details of it. We do have a completely free podcast course that you can check out. So Paul will drop the link into the chat, and then it's also in the show notes and in the comments, I believe, of every one of these videos. But swing on over and sign up. It'll take you step by step exactly how to do what we do, what our process is, what our recommendations are, and everything in between. But yeah, you can find this podcast on YouTube, both as a live recording and as the finished recorded episode. And then you can find our edited audio episodes on Apple and Spotify and everywhere in between, because we are playing in all of the places. Thank you. So ekim.tv/free podcast course is where you can get the podcast course, and we are constantly updating it. So feel free to jump in there and make any suggestions that you have. All right, we're jumping into the next one because we got a bunch, and I'm dedicated to getting through them. Thankfully, these are all related to each other, so they kind of 100%. Build on each other, which is great. Okay, so we've already myth busted rankings, but the next big one on the list is monetization, right? Like, how do I monetize? How do I get sponsors? How do I make money? How do I become a millionaire as a podcaster? It
You
is
don't.
in many cases the thing that people ask first, even though we would say that you probably shouldn't. And it's definitely at the back of every podcaster's mind to some level or another, right? Like, am I doing the right things to make the right amount of money? So let's break it down, Doc. What are the details here? Why are people actually struggling with monetization? What's the truth behind it?
Honestly, this is going to always be the problem because I get, desperate times lead to desperate measures. So many people get into it and they just see somebody else making it, so they think that they're going to make it. It's like, I'm going to open a burger stand because McDonald's is good. First of all, no, it's not. But that's not the reason to open a burger stand. You open a burger stand because you love making burgers. If you don't, your burger stand will close within a year. Mm-hmm. So many restaurants open and close. They're the best industry to pick on because they're so true, but they open and close instantly. Okay, so in the neighborhood, coffee shops are banging because, Market Square Bakehouse is freaking delicious. Mm-hmm. So about 17 other people open coffee shops. Every time I come to the Bury, there's another coffee shop, but there's two that have been there for all of my 4 years. And that's Market Square Bakehouse and the one that he comes whenever he feels like it. Oh my God, my brain just went
House
dumb.
Coffee.
Wise House. That's the one. See that name messes with me. So, but that coffee is good. Wise House coffee is so strong, it rivals Cafe Butelo. Like, it gets straight up in there. It's whoo. But everybody else, come and gone. Same thing with breweries. There's like a couple that stand, and there's a whole bunch that come and go. Because when you see one place popping off, you're like, oh, if I make one of those, I can make money too. But you have got to have a hardcore love for creating that cafe. If you don't, you're not going to be able to match no matter how good it is, no matter how much prices you lower, it does require a thing. And so one of the biggest problems is everybody is so focused on the money first, they structure their businesses in a way that is unsustainable, and they normally get the B word, which I can't stand. I was like, no, that doesn't count. You did that to yourself because you was chasing the wrong thing. And it's just hard. So if you are selling something and you use a podcast to attract attention to your product, as we are doing, that is probably going to work out a little bit better for you than I'm just going to make a podcast about whatever and hope I get paid. No, you can't. If you have a hope I get paid thing, you're probably never going to get paid. If you go out and you deliver good information and you find something that people want and you are solving problems or providing vitamins, you're solving solutions for growth or you're solving pain, you will probably be able to monetize at some point, so on, et cetera. And all of the strategy and all the other stuff that goes around is sort of second nature. I think you worry about that once you actually start monetizing. Now, you can sell merch right away. You can do live events right away. Those things are monetizable. But when I started my podcast a couple years back, and it was on local topics, I just went to my buddy who's an attorney, and I'm like, you're always looking for any place to put stuff, and I see you put ads in the dumbest places. I'm going to start a podcast. Just in my friend group alone, I can guarantee close to 1,000 downloads. And the podcast platform for the first 2 years is going to cost me $250 a month. Give me 300 bones and I'll put you as the sponsor of the show. And he was like, done. We waste that on whiskey. And I was like, I knew it. So that's monetized already. Like, now I could just do the podcast because the real estate is paid for. So you could do that. Yeah. But I mean, the idea, there's nobody coming to buy ads on the flow right now. That's not the point, though. Our point is to teach people about this, that maybe they would fall in love with Ecamm. A whole bunch of people are going to watch the flow and download a competitor app. It's okay. That's not what we're here for. We want to just get people in love with podcasting, because normally what happens is you go try a competitor app and then you start saying swear words, and then you keep seeing us do cool stuff and you go check out the Ecamm fam again, and then you're like, all right, damn it. And then now you're in. And there's people in our group right now that have been there. They've seen all the eCam stuff. They tried something else because they thought they were saving money, and then they end up spending more money and came right back. So that's what you do it for. That was a long-winded answer. I'm sorry.
No, I think that's great. And I asked this question to ChatGPT as we were coming up with the ideas in the show notes for this episode. And so here's right from the AI robot overlords, right? So we are failing at this in many ways because we're not treating our podcast like a business. So if the goal of your podcast is that you want to make money with it, stop thinking about it of I can get to this point and then I can monetize. Plan for how you want to make money with the podcast from the very start, right? Think about it as a business, as a content business, right? You need a clear strategy. You need, as Doc was just saying in his example, right? Like, think about who you know, think about the spaces that you're in, think about what value you are bringing, and stop only thinking about once I get to this point, then I'm going to get all these big sponsors. Sponsors are not where all of the money is. You need to figure out whether you're going to be selling products or services, whether or not you can partner with different businesses, and maybe making money for your podcast is that you're not paying anything for your podcast, right? Like, maybe that's your goal. And if that's the case, like, follow Doc's example and find those partners who are going to cover your costs, right? And end up making it a win for everyone, right? And then the other thing that people really don't think about in this space, as they're so kind of driven and thinking about money first, right, is that your podcast audience likely isn't and shouldn't be your only audience, right? So in our example, like, we have all of you, the Flow Riders who hang out with us and are here to learn about podcasting. We also have a ton of other eCam customers and potential customers that don't at all care about podcasting. They're into it for live streaming and video production and live events and Zoom and everything in between, right? So we have an audience outside of our podcast that we are able to use and kind of build things collaboratively with. And then the last thing here is, you really should be thinking about your audience itself, right? So, like, if you're only into your podcast plan because you only want to make money and you're not thinking at all about your audience, that's not going to work, right? That's not a good strategy, because your audience isn't there to only buy stuff, right? They might buy things if you're helping them and it's a relevance to them, but that's not the reason that they're there engaging and listening with you. They're there to learn something or to be entertained or to, feel like they're part of the team or feel like they're part of the community. So there's a lot that goes into this monetization thing. And the truth, as Doc said, is that none of us are going to become millionaires. None of us are going to become millionaires overnight. You need to have a set plan for what you want to achieve and the steps that you need to take to get there. And you really need to be thinking about your audience first, because if you damage that relationship, you're not going to make any money off of this at all.
100%. And that's part of the problem. There's a couple of shows that I really, really love, and they've gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And now when I'm in one of the cars, I don't have the Patreon feed connected to my podcast app. And for some reason it doesn't work, and I'm not ready to erase the OS and start again because I only use it once in a while. And when I hear the non-Patreon feed, it's like, and then, so the murderer came into the room and they left the biggest piece of evidence. Yes. Hey, are you having a hard time sleeping? Can you check out this mattress? And then, would you like to save some money by switching to your car insurance on Geico? Oh, and by the way, these bras don't have wires underneath the bottom, so you should get these kind of bras. And I've been putting this cream on my face. And the hosts love every product. I'm like, fam, I'm not in your business. One of y'all don't wear bras. And that's cool. But really, I'm just saying, the effervescence for some of these products doesn't match the quality of the two people that were doing the show before they're one of the top shows.
Yeah.
And the green powders have been debunked so many times. And there's so many scam articles written about it, and you're still letting them advertise because they pay you a grip. I'm like, that starts to feel a little disconnected.
Yeah, you can
And
damage
then,
trust, right? You can really
yeah, it's
like,
damaging
you can
trust. So like
lose
now
people.
even though I'm listening to the Patreon feed that doesn't have any ads in it, I have a harder time because in the back of my head, I'm like, fam, I'm all about the bag, bro. Trust you, me. But like now, when you're telling me something that is really good, I have to question, is it really though? Because, they would just talk about anything,
Yeah.
like anything. Now they're getting me on a, uh, there's a new one. I think it's called Chime. It's like a credit card where, you can have
Okay.
bad credit and still get the card. I'm like, fam, you're like the number 3 podcast in the somebody got killed genre. None of y'all need Chime.
How about selling like Ring doorbells or security systems
Thank
or
you.
murder mystery night kits?
You
Or
know what? If
what?
they
Yeah,
did an
something that's
advertisement
relevant.
for Incognito, which I
Yeah.
use, or the other data breach tools that are out there, I would totally be about that life. But neither one of them has needed Chime for a long time. And then maybe somebody in the audience need it. But then you make the commercial say, listen, as you know, we've been blessed. We're a successful podcast. We don't necessarily need Chime, but we understand financial times are hard. Here's a good look. So like, don't just take every advertisement that comes up. And some of that is network driven, but they're not even a network. So this is literally, they're making a decision because somebody comes in there, here's a bag. I'm going to give you 50 grand to run this for the next 6 weeks. And they're like, okay, bet. And I'm like, it needs to match your people. So like, I don't know. That part of the business makes podcasting become television, which is why we're watching podcasting, because it ain't television.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really important to keep in mind. And then, I'm seeing a few questions coming up about asking about different kinds of quote unquote monetization. There are so many clever things that you can do, right? So like you can, as you start building an audience and they're an audience that like knows, likes, and trusts you, right? Like you can build a membership program off of that, like spend
Yeah.
time with them in different ways. And, everyone is probably a lot more likely to pay $5 a month to be part of your membership program than wanting to hear ads, right? Especially ones that are not relevant. So maybe that makes more sense. Maybe, someone was asking in the comments about merch, right? And how you link up merch to YouTube, right? So there's a bunch of different tools out there. We use Fourth Wall, which is a free tool, right? So you can get up and running with merch for free. Like it's all drop ship. You design it, you set the prices, and you make the difference. Between what the cost of it is and how much you sold it for, right? So there's a lot of different things that you can do. And again, like you could reach out to similar businesses, and instead of running ads that might annoy or antagonize your audience, why don't you bring those people on and have them talk to your audience and answer your audience's questions, right? So there's lots of different things that you can do in different ways if you're thinking about your podcast as a business, and if you have a detailed plan of how you're going to get there, and then you're protecting your audience. Those are the important things that you need to keep in mind throughout.
I would
this entire
say
experience.
just don't even think about it in the beginning, because it's going to cause you to make decisions that aren't necessarily correct. And to Johnny's point, and I know he's joking, Johnny says, is it possible that when you first starting out, you take what you can get?
Yeah.
No, that's the problem. That is the problem. Okay, as a kid of the 80s, and I'm sure you know this, we were probably not quite the last, but one of the last generations that many of us children were born out of sort of, I wouldn't call it forced marriages, but omi marriages, right? Where parents had too much of the hand in it. And all of us ended up kids of divorced parents when we got into our teens.
Mm-hmm.
Because grandma and church and all these other people were lining folks together that didn't really go together. And you know what suffers in the end is the seeds. So taking what you can get, there's a whole bunch of people right now in unhappy relationships because they settled for what they thought was all they could get, the first that they could get, whatever the case may be. So that is just a bad business model in every way, shape, or form. You should never, ever, ever jump on it because it's all you can get. That's selling yourself short. If you think that's all you should get, you should stop podcasting right now, because you don't think that you're good enough to attract the advertiser that matches you. So that's a bad mindset. So I'm sorry. You know you're my buddy, but I'm going to keep it straight with you. No. The answer to that question is freak no. Anyway, back in the ranch.
So I said yeah, in that I think a lot of people, in my mind, the way that the question was phrased, so let me defend myself here, because Doc is absolutely right. I think I think many people, when they're thinking about making money off their podcast, are thinking about those like high level giant companies up here, right? That they, in their minds, think pay bajillions of dollars to these podcasters, which is not true anyway, to start off with. It's just not true. But they're forgetting all of the like smaller, quote unquote, like take what you can get partners out there that maybe could do something amazing in bartering or in like smaller amounts of money or in a value add for your audience. So I just want to challenge everyone like to stop thinking that you need to have these really large companies that are paying you some pretend large amount of money that isn't even accurate, and start thinking through again, like, maybe you could trade, a tool that you're using to create or to promote your podcast. Maybe you can trade the subscription for that, for talking about it if it's relevant to your audience, or, so in how you're phrasing that question, Johnny, I was thinking about like, don't take what you can get in that, like, as crazy people are emailing you about your show, say yes to all of them. Don't do that. But also don't forget like that there are probably companies and people and tools and I don't know, whatever else out there that you might not be thinking about because you're thinking too up into the clouds of things that are going to make you
Correct.
bajillions of monies, right? Yeah, the reason they're big companies is because they don't pay out big dollars to podcasters. Very true.
Tommy had the best comment right there.
Yeah, very true across the board. All right, well, jumping into our next myth buster or controversy, which is, do you really need to have a niche in podcasting? I know Doc has a bunch of feelings about it. So do you need a niche in podcasting?
Yes and no.
Or is it just a marketing hype? Is this marketing hype, Doc?
No,
what about niches?
First of all, people need to get off the word hype because they like to use that word, meaning that there's something that they know is good advice that they need, but they don't want to use that advice or everybody else using that advice. So if I label it hype, that allows me to make it negative, even though it's neither negative or positive.
Yeah.
Words like hype, and there's a bunch other, trends or whatever, like, literally, you're just phrasing it in a way in your brain so that you don't have to think about it by applying an unnecessarily negative thing to it. So get off of the words that people use to control your brain. I say, as Mary Lou and I say, unsubscribes to words that's none of your damn business. Hype is one of them.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, we're removing hype.
If anything is gaining hype, there's probably something to it. Whether good or bad or indifferent, there's probably something to it. Okay, so the reason why I say yes and no. Everybody told Jerry Seinfeld that you can't make a show about nothing. And Jerry Seinfeld said, hold my beer. And he made the most popular show about nothing. You can absolutely make a show about nothing. One of the people that we're working with, we've been talking about making a show about nothing for a simple point of showing you how to do a show. The show itself doesn't have to have a topic. We're just making a show about nothing, but it's more or less to show you the back end of how to do a show. So yeah, you can have a show without a niche. These are decisions that everybody wants an answer to because they don't want to be wrong. But here's the reality. You won't know until you try it. So the only thing I would say about the niche is if you have one, dope. If you're going to pick one, she said a podcast about business. Yeah, that's a dumb niche. A podcast about solopreneurs automating their business. That's a specific niche. That's good, right? Just doing here's a podcast about business, you're going to have a hard time because you just don't know exactly who you're attracting. You're on that, my audience is everybody. And if your audience is everybody, your audience is nobody, right? So if you're going to do one, pick one, kind of get hyper-focused. Try to keep it, tight. Even if you think there's not a lot to it, you can always expand, but it's sometimes harder to drill down. And then second of all, you might get 40, 50 episodes in before you figure out your niche. So you can start out in one niche and become something completely different. And I've watched 100%. That happen to lots and lots of people in that particular podcasting range, right? So in tech, for instance, a lot of my Mac podcasts, they started out one way and they're just doing iOS apps. But then iOS apps now became iPad apps. Now a lot of apps are cross, device. You can use them on all three. So now their show literally covers a gambit. But their original podcast was I was going to do a 5-minute podcast about an app you need to see today. Because back when the App Store first opened, there was literally 100 brand new apps every day. We're not at that point anymore. We're getting much more robust and clean apps, no more farting flashlights. So their show evolved, and that's absolutely cool. But I think in the beginning, maybe have your first 10 episodes in your head, do those 10, see where it goes. Now plan your next 10, do those 10, see where it goes. And just go back to the monetizing thing. Go have fun for 25 episodes.
Yeah.
Most of y'all don't make it past 7. That's just a national fact. It's been that fact since 2009, maybe before that, actually. The pod fade has been about that, has never changed. It's always been 7 episodes explode. So yeah, don't overthink it. Just do it.
I'm laughing because here are the places where you don't need to have a super specific niche, right? So if you're completely famous, if you are super famous and you have a lot of people who already follow you, you don't need a niche because you already have an audience, right? If you have a huge built-in audience somewhere else, like us, right? So like we're Ecamm, we have a huge customer base. We have a huge group of people who are likely to come over and listen to our live streams and videos. We probably didn't need as much of a niche as maybe you do when you're starting off your new show. And as Doc said, if you are starting it as just a hobby or just for fun, don't worry about it too much. See how it goes, and then you can decide at some point, right? Because it's just for fun. You're not trying to do anything other than see how good you can be at this, test everything out, try it out, and have fun while you're doing it. So, stop overthinking it, a lot, and really just start out. And again, like these things are changeable, so you could decide that your space is in one place and then realize it's in a completely different place. And that's all right. You can make those changes later. That's fine.
It's funny because I don't know why the thought came to my mind again. It seems really weird, but okay, I think I've come to the point of why they connect in my brain. Relationships, business is a relationship. Podcast host to audience is a relationship, although parasocial is still a relationship. Relationships all kind of work. And here's something that's really strange. If you're good at what we would call, IRL relationships, you're going to be good at this. If you're bad at IRL relationships, you might suffer with this because the same practices that you would use in an IRL relationship, whether that's friends or intimate, whatever the case may be, is literally some of the same stuff that it comes when it comes to customer service. Respect people where they are, be a good listener, hear what they're saying, give the people what they want, levels of altruism when necessary, not being too selfish. Like all these things all work. And if you are, I know so many people who, when they first met, because I'm a what they call a bokishin. I'm an officiant. So I've done tons of weddings. And I just did my niece's wedding like 3 weeks ago. Her and her husband now, my new nephew, they were just friends and, it was never going to be a thing. And then they spent more time together, that familiarity. And then we all saw it. They didn't see it maybe. And then it's like, oh no, we go out here and there, but it's not really a thing. And because there was not the pressure of, I get to get this niche, so to speak. Yeah. Here they are. Like they met when they were 12. They started dating when they were 17. And I just officiated that joint when they're 27. You know what I mean? They will be, I know I've done this a lot. They will probably be forever, right? Yeah. The ones that start out where they're not doing what everybody else tells them to do, they tend to last, right? Same thing. If you do your show and you're coming out and you're having fun and you're just enjoying it and you're slowly evolving a love for it or whatever, and then it becomes real. And those tend to last, Heck, you and Dane been together since forever and a day, right? And same with me and Karen. Like we never even stepped into a church, but we outlasted all the people that went and got married. And everybody kept telling us to go get married, right?
To do a church,
and they're like, "Well, how do you marry people you don't get married?" Because I don't want to. But we're gonna be 26 years, fam. We have outlasted one of the friends that keep asking us that question. She's on number 3, and I'm just like, you should shut your face or maybe take some notes, idiot. Like, bruh. And by the way, if you've gone through 3, it's probably you. I'm saying. I just said that was mean, Doc. Don't say that. Tora said hit episode 224 this morning. Come on, gangster.
Congratulations to Tora. And I saw Paul says that he's 325 episodes in. Congratulations.
Beat the national average. Yo, Paul, you took it out back and whooped it. You took it out back and whooped it with a 2x4. Come on, Paul.
You've reset the curve. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, here, in the interest of time, we have one left. We will do it really quickly. Although I kind of think it's probably like the best one, in my humble opinion, anyway. So time wasters, right? There's a lot of kind of myths around what is actually taking the most amount of time when it comes to podcasting and video podcasting, and what should we be doing instead? So what are some of those time wasters, Doc, and how can we overcome them?
Oh, the biggest thing is coming out of the gate thinking that you need to produce like some incredible ESPN level, show. I think another one right now that's hanging up a lot of people, like this one's good. Man, don't get caught up in the tag podcast. My community, like we've just decided we're just going to call them shows. Because right now the OGs are coming for you, and right now the OGs are putting out a lot of articles about, podcast this, podcast that, podcast, because they're not ready for all of the new people to blow past them. And I am not mad at them, but can you understand? You've been podcasting since when we had the hand code podcast. That's me, okay? Mm-hmm. And we had to like write our feed burner feeds. We're talking really, really old school, 2004, 2005. And then two little kids, that's mean, they're in their 20s. Two little kids pop up on the couch. They got a glass of wine, feet on the couch. They're talking about K-pop, or they're talking about some TV show or whatever. And they're just basically blabbering. No show technique, no mic technique, no whatever. And the show is just all over the map, but they're personality driven, and then they're getting 2-3 million downloads, and all of a sudden they're a popular show. I cannot understand how in a million years Call Me Daddy is as popular as it is, but it is. Okay. Yep. As an OG podcaster, I have no feelings about that. I don't care. If anything, I congratulate Shorty because she's bringing validation to our medium. Right? Kardashians hate me, dumbest show on TV, but it brought validation to a medium. And no matter how much you might not like the Kardashians, the business person in me, those people have generated an empire. Mm-hmm. Like they are a couple steps underneath the Waltons for printing money. So are you jealous or you just don't like the content? And I'm not an idiot, a little of both. Let's be real. So spending too much time chasing what the OGs are telling you, like, I'm sorry, man, I'm an OG, but I'm going to tell you what's modern and curious because I don't have any feelings. I don't feel, butthurt that these youngins are passing me, or even old people who started the show that are passing me. I just feel like they're making the space better, and they're helping people, and they're giving people some brightness to their day.
Yep.
Bingo. Let it go. You know what I mean? And we know how I feel about political game, but that side has rocked podcasting lately and has showed a lot about what happens. If you look at the business structure and the planning and how they do their shows or whatever, you don't have to like the content, but the model is still there of how to build entire empires in a short amount of time.
Yep.
So if you know how to dissect that and just ignore what they're doing that's getting on your nerves and look at the bones, that steak has bones, right? Yeah. So what lessons can I learn from something that I hate? Too many people can't do that. So I would be focusing on just getting good at your skill, getting good at talking, getting good at presenting, getting good at marketing. If you can handle those things, you will be fine. Don't get too twisted in all of the, like Paul had a beautiful question talking about, should you do these as premieres or not premieres? That's an experiment thing, Paul, and I tried it. It just doesn't kind of sort of work. I still do them because I'm fun, or I want to see right away what people think about this video that I just made because I think it's fire. I'll rock that as a premiere and just sit there, and I'll talk to 3 people. Like Carlos will pop on, a couple other people will pop on, but that's because Carlos and I are West Coast, so everybody else is asleep. So like it's not. I don't even like, oh, if you do this, your thing is going to blow up. I even try to stop doing that in my content because no, it's not. It only blows up when it's good. If it's good, it will blow up, period. If it's trash, it's trash. And you just got to be much better at saying, my show needs work.
Yeah.
It's like recycling a dresser. Trash can turn into treasure. So you might just need to go and scrub it, sand it, restain it, put an oil-based epoxy on the outside, let it dry for 8 days, and then sell it. Sorry, my woodworker leaked out.
No, it's fine. I totally agree. I think the number one thing we are all wasting time at right now is just overthinking it and overcomplicating it and looking at what everyone else is doing and trying to be in that same lane instead of being ourselves. So if we can all stop worrying so much about all of it and just do the work and get a little bit better every single time and test and play, and you just, all you really need to do correctly, quote unquote, is the planning of the actual run of your show, right? So what is your show about? What is the content for each week? Are you getting that content out? So your plan, the actual creation of the episodes themselves, and the promotion of trying to get them out into the world with people so that you're building an audience. Everything else underneath those is editable, is changeable, can start off terrible and get better. All of it is a process.
Oh, we got
right,
way better over 103 episodes. We've gotten so good that Katie says she want to stop overthinking.
I'm a recovering, as my friend Ian says, I am a recovering overthinker. But I will say, so as someone who has forced myself into this process in a couple of different ways and in a couple of different places, personally and professionally, the times where I just create a really simple process and then I go through it and then I make little tweaks here and there to get a little bit better, the numbers come, the people come, the interaction comes, the marketing gets better, the show episodes get better, the process gets better. It all gets better but you need to just start simply and grow from there. So
correct.
Yeah,
stop
wasting
so
time
cool
in the details. Get out of the weeds.
Yeah, get out of the weeds. I think what's cool is sort of what you just said. And I realize why both of us have, those overthinking proclivities. It's a Virgo situation.
It's a Virgo thing,
We are hardcore perfectionists. We just are. Yeah. And we also are people pleasers. And the worst combo you can have is be a perfectionist people pleaser. Because what that does is take all of your time away from you. I have to fight that tooth and nail. I literally fight it every single day. That is my daily boxing match, making everybody else happy, but making sure that I handle what I got to handle.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
This was a fun episode. I'm feeling good about this. So you'll have to let us know, people who are hanging out with us live, what are these kind of subtopics we should do as full episodes. We'd love to dive deeper on some of this content. And again, small plug-in reminder for our podcast course, where we do dive deeper into a lot of these topics and more. And we're always happy to add videos into that course space. It's free. And it kind of takes you through the flow episodes and some additional content in a little bit more of an organized way than just listening to the episodes. So definitely worth checking out. Yeah. What else am I missing, Doc?
Oh, that's it. I think one thing that we should talk about is that if you want to send us a question or follow the show, leave us a review, go to flow.ecam.com. That's flow.ecam.com. And we want to send a shout out to the people from Shure, because they sure make us sound nice. Right now, they have a hot new product that is the MV88 Wireless, which is a really cool mobile wireless thing. And I know that Tora had mentioned in the chat about somebody recording their podcast in the car with the baby seat in the back while they're in the pickup line to pick up their kid from school. And yes, that is Jefferson, and he has an amazing podcast. It's done majority of the episodes from the car. So this is things that you could do if you grab yourself a Shure microphone. So go and check out Shure at Shure.com and tell them that Ecamm sent you. We love them for partnering with us here on The Flow.
And you did a whole episode last week that drops today all about that.
About the mic.
That
About the
specific
mic. Oh, that
so,
mic is so good. I've been watching Lou's videos recently. Y'all done messed up. She be in her little chair with her little teeny mic, because it's like a little mic, right? She just be over here
tiny,
like,
yeah.
all right, y'all done let me loose with a wireless, and she can twirl around in her chair and play with the cats while she's doing her videos. It's super funny, but it does provide a level of relaxation and freedom that makes it easier to watch. If you just sit there and you look super pent up in your show, that can also affect, relatability. So
it might
please,
help me
people,
with my Flofa. So I have my new Shure mic. All right, ideas for next week. I might be coming
sit
at
on
you
the
from
Flofa.
with
Hey,
my
I'm
wireless
thinking
mic,
about-
feeling fancy.
The time change put us back in the dark, but when it was an hour later, I should have done a couple outside from the pool deck, because it doesn't pick up any of the wind, which where I live, because I live by the ocean, sometimes the wind is like, let me try to knock down that building that I can't knock down. Like the wind is crazy. And so the day that I did my test video, I'm outside 25-mile-an-hour winds. You can't hear anything. So like, I could have just gone and shot one from the pool deck. If I get a waterproof one, I'm going to do the flow from inside the pool.
Pool flow.
Wait, Doc is drowning on the stream. What the hell?
Yeah, no drowning a lot on the stream. That's not good.
Guys, this has been phenomenal.
thank
Kate's great
you.
episode as always. And yeah, I mean, really, big ups to Paul Turner, man. Thanks for coming through. Hey, we're in the same boat. We are the handsome guys over 55. So come through anytime. Like, we really appreciate you, and using Ecamm or not, always welcome to be a member of the Flow Riders, because your insights today were great. And Saeed, the jokes came. I knew it. Saeed always wins with the flow koozie.
Oh yeah, the flow koozie.
Yo, the way my back is hurting today, Saeed, the flow koozie might have been a thing.
Yeah,
So
that might have been a good idea.
That's super funny. The House of Pauls.
Thank you, House of Pauls.
Thank you. Yo, Paul, make sure you induct Paul Turner into the Pauls, because we have a bunch of them.
Please acquaint yourself with other Pauls in the chat.
All right, so now we got a PT to go with the PK and the PD and the P. Oh, there's two PDs. P. Dixon. Paul C is in the desert right now, sending us live stream videos from the Sahara Desert. Bro, I am freaking floored. He did an entire stream from the desert the other day, and it was beautiful. I was just like, man, that's crazy. We're in a special place right now. Go create something.
Go
Flow
create
Riders.
something.
Out.
Bye, everyone.